So let's talk about J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. It's one of those books you've probably heard about, famous, a little controversial, and definitely one of a kind. In this explainer, we're going to crack open the very first pages to really get a feel for the voice and the world we're stepping into.
Okay, so right out of the gate, our narrator, Holden Caulfield, tells us exactly what this story is not going to be. He's throwing out the idea of a long, boring life story. He's making it clear this is on his terms. And yeah, he sounds a little bitter about it, doesn't he?
Well, he's our 16-year-old guide through this whole thing. And he's actually telling us this story from a rest home out in California, recovering from getting, as he puts it, run down. He's smart, he's super complicated, and he's got a view on the world that, trust me, you won't forget.
To really understand this book, you have to understand Holden. His voice is the entire story. So let's start with how he introduces himself and what he's decided to tell us.
Right away, he brushes off his lousy childhood and says his parents are touchy as hell about anything personal. He's basically telling us, forget all that background stuff you're used to. He wants to cut right to what he thinks is important.
And there it is. That's the framework for the whole novel. This isn't his life story. It's a very specific memory of one wild weekend that clearly messed him up. This is the madman stuff he needs to get off his chest.
Now, before we dive into all the things that drive Holden crazy, you've got to understand the very few people he sees as, well, perfect. They're his compass in a world that he mostly can't stand.
If there's one person in the entire world that Holden loves without any hesitation, it's his 10-year-old sister, Phoebe. For him, she's the real deal. She's innocent, but she's also way smarter than most adults he knows.
And for Holden, smart doesn't just mean book smart. It's about honesty. When he says she can tell if a movie is lousy, that's the highest praise he can give. It means she's not a sucker. She sees things for what they really are. The other person who's always on his mind is his younger brother, Allie. Allie died from leukemia a few years back, and for Holden, his memory is this perfect, shining example of goodness and innocence that's been lost.
You know, the detail about the baseball mitt is so telling. It shows that what Holden loved about Allie wasn't just that he was smart, it was that he was creative and completely original. I mean, who else writes poems on their baseball glove just so they won't get bored? He was 100% himself.
So you've got these two incredibly genuine people, Phoebe and Allie, that Holden absolutely adores, and they become the standard he holds everyone else to. The problem? Pretty much everyone else fails the test, which brings us to his all-time favorite word,
Phony. This word is everything to Holden. It's his ultimate burn. He uses it for anyone he thinks is being fake, putting on a show, or just playing by the dumb rules of the adult world instead of being a real person.
And man, he sees phonies absolutely everywhere. It's not just a few people he doesn't like, he sees it as a sickness that's infected his own family, his school, and pretty much all of society.
This right here is a perfect example of his worldview. His older brother, DB, used to be a terrific writer, a real artist. But now, he's out in Hollywood writing for the movies, which Holden hates. In Holden's eyes, DB basically sold out. He traded his art for money and became a prostitute.
And he's just as cynical about his school, Pencey Prep. He laughs at their ads that show these fancy guys on horses, pointing out he's never even once saw a horse anywhere near the place. To him, that whole slogan about molding boys is just a big fat lie.
So when you refuse to play along in a world you think is fake, well, there are consequences. Holden won't play the game, and because of that, he keeps getting kicked out of it. And here it is, the event that kicks this whole story into motion. He's been expelled. He's not coming back after Christmas break. And, you know, this isn't exactly a new experience for him. Pencey is just the latest school to give him the axe.
4. That's how many subjects he was failing. And he straight up admits he just wasn't applying himself. But you can see his logic, right? Why would you work hard in a system you think is completely phony and dishonest?
Okay, so before he leaves Pencey for good, Holden decides to go say goodbye to his old history teacher, Mr. Spencer. And this whole scene is just a perfect window into how alienated Holden feels, especially around adults. Think about the difference here. His memories of Allie and Phoebe are so full of life and energy. But this room, it smells like sickness. It's cluttered with medicine. The whole vibe is old, depressing, and kind of decaying. He gets really specific, talking about Mr. Spencer's sad, ratty old bathrobe and his bumpy chest. You can just feel how uncomfortable he is. The physical signs of getting old and being sick, it's a reality he just can't handle looking at.
And right before this visit, there's this powerful moment where Holden's standing by himself on a hill, looking down at a football game that everyone else is at. He is literally separate from everybody else, an outsider looking in on a world that he's no longer a part of.
That feeling of sort of disappearing, that's so key to who Holden is. He feels invisible, disconnected, not just from people, but from everything. It's a deep, kind of terrifying loneliness he's dealing with.
And really, that's the question that's going to drive his whole journey. If you can't stand the world you're living in, where on earth do you go? He's looking for something, anything, real, in a world he's pretty sure is fake. And finding a place to belong is a lot harder than just running away.